Thank you, guys. Call the meeting in order at 6 p.m. Any public comments? If not, we will adjourn to closed session. sorry for the delay. Roll call. Let's see, all board members are counted and present. Oh, I'm sorry. Let's turn it up. How's that? Is that better? Can you hear me now? Yes. All board members are counted and present for. We have 2 student reps tonight. Welcome. I'd like to start with Pledge of Allegiance. Mr. Neely, would you do us the honor?
Yes, ma'am. If you would please, face the flag, salute, and pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mr. Neely. Your last Pledge of Allegiance for us. I'd like to move into report from closed session. We have a couple of appointments this evening. The first appointment is for the Area Director of Educational Services for Mark Dawson. Mr. Freitas motioned, Mr. Nava second, and the board approved the appointment of Mr. Dawson as Area Director of Services, the start date to be determined, with a vote of 7-0. The second appointment for the second Area Director for Educational Services is Peter Lambert, with a motion by Mr. Neely, a second by Mr. Porter. The board approved with a vote of 7-0 for the appointment of Mr. Lambert as Area Director of Educational Services, with the start date to be determined. Welcome, Mr. Lambert. We had legal conference on claim number 614223. Mr. Nava motioned, Mr. Knackstead seconded to reject the claim number 614223 by the following vote of 7-0. And the last one is the placement of non-public school students. Mr. Porter motioned, Mr. Nava seconded, and the board approved with a vote of 7-0 for the placement of non-public students number 115, 116, 117, and 118. It's that time of year. Pardon? Was that all? Yes, that was it. That was all. We're moving on to some board recognitions. You're looking at me like I forgot something. Did I forget?
I don't know if you voted on the other item or not.
It wasn't, it did not have a vote to it. Were we supposed to vote? On this item?
Yes.
You know what? We did not.
Okay, then there's nothing to report.
I saw the other sheet. I apologize.
Nothing to report.
We can always go back out.
We can go back up. Yes, we will do that. Absolutely. Absolutely. Moving on to recognitions. We have 2 board members that will, this is their last board meeting. You can tell by who's smiling. I'd like to start with Mr. Neely. As I call them, the boys have decided that we are going to sit up here and do our recognitions because they want to. Well, now welcome to my tenure as president. We're going to make a decision and then change.
You gotta keep flowing.
All right, we're going up to the board. Wow. Man, they like threw it. Let's go. Where's the Heverly tribe? Can you come on up to the microphone? You get to come up and stand. Come on up. Okay, so who's the one that's the strongest? Look. So you're going to hold this, and when I say, you get to hand it to Grandpa, okay? Where's Chelsea? This is a photo of the lifetime. So, Mr. Headley's been with the board since 2012, am I correct?
2010.
2010, I apologize. You were president in 2012 and 2016 as vice president. Do I have, am I correct?
Yes.
I feel like I'm on a TV show and I get messing up and the announcer is correcting me. I personally would like to thank you as a leader, your service, your time, your parenting, your vision of students. I think in all the menagerie that happens with our board, Mr. Haberly, along with Mr. Neely, is the first board member that puts students first. Not that we all don't, but his goal is students, academic student safety, and how they're going to affect our community. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you for all you've done. I don't know how we'll go on without you. I keep asking you, is this like the Secret Service, and once you're in, board members can call and ask questions? Which we all know we can. Thank you for the laugh. I'm going to miss you personally. You're a voice of reason for me when I'm hot-tempered and mad, and you calm me down. So it'll be interesting. We'll have to find a new board member to rely on. Thank you. Okay, now you get to hand it to him.
Take a photo with it.
It's very happy. Board members, do you have any words that you would like to say to Mr. Heberly? Mr. Nava?
We'll have them do their thing first.
Okay, let them talk and then we'll. Gotta wait a minute.
I'll wait.
Students first.
Sure.
Future students first.
Current.
Current and current. Okay, you guys want to squish him and she'll take your picture all together?
What, everybody? What?
Might as well make it a family gathering. You can Photoshop it.
You're gonna have to go wide angle, there's a bunch of us. We all went to Great Wolf Lodge and been to the place.
Biology.
But what about Cameron?
Uncle Cameron's at work.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
You have no idea how many it takes to get
Paparazzi.
Mr. Nava has some words.
Yeah, what a wonderful family, Ron. And I understand now why you're retiring. Remember, they grow fast, so you gotta enjoy them. I've been through the process myself, and boy, all of a sudden you look and they're 15, 16, they don't want to see Papa, they don't want to see their grandmother and grandfather. So enjoy them while they're young, okay? Ron, what a run. My gosh, I was a member, actually, I came in 2008 when Obama got elected to this board, and I'm still going strong. I have no complaints at all, and I think this district is one of the best in the United States, okay? So I'm very proud. The board is professional in all aspects. And Ron, I'm gonna just cover some of the things. There's no more portables. I remember you telling the group, I said, we do not want any more portables. And pretty soon, I guess Mr. Khan got the idea, and we're off the portables, so those are accomplishments. All the portables are gone. You were involved with Measure U at the beginning, and I'm telling you, we had some meetings there, and you kept on task on that, and good thing that we passed Measure U because all the other things came into place, and you are one of the responsible persons for that. God Kids formed, the God Kids Foundation formed. You're an initial member of the God Kids Foundation with me and Mr. Neely and those boards over here and Mr. Freitas. So that was a big plus on this. The Tokay High Stadium was built during your tenure. Lodi High School was built during your tenure. All the elementary schools were built, were improved, except for the Needham Elementary School, which was rebuilt, and it's a beautiful complex there. We also have the Tokay High buildings improved during your tenure. Swimming pool at Lodi will be finished, hopefully before too long. I know Mr. Khan's got a date for that.
Next week.
So it was very good. I really want to thank you for, when I was president, it was a tough time because of the pandemic, and my gosh, I was so glad
for your support, Ron. I remember you calling me one time on the phone, and I've never had called. Hey, thank you, Joe, for running this meeting, and you have all my support. And I mean, that went to my heart. I really appreciate that, Ron. I want to thank you very much for all those things, and have a great time. I know that you will with all your grandchildren and your other children, and you're very fortunate they all live close to you. Thanks again, Ron, for all your work.
Thank you, Joe. Appreciate it.
Mr. Paxton?
Yeah, actually, I do have a few comments, Ron. Ron, you may not remember this, but you were one of the very first persons on the board that really welcomed me to the board and helped orient me to the board and issues and things that's going to happen, and just housekeeping chores. You have always been a person that has an encouraging word, not only for me but for everybody. One of the things that one of Ron's your favorite pieces of advice is that, you know, we don't always have to agree on everything, and in fact, you and I probably have voted differently on several items, probably, well, a few. But we don't have to agree on every item, but we can still be friends. And that has been true throughout your tenure, from what I've seen. I'm going to tell one story that, you know, when I spent my entire career teaching and being in a classroom or being on the field, and I tend to walk all over the classroom. I tend to use my hands a lot. I'm pointing to this, I'm pointing to that. And then when I got on the board, I had to sit here and just say, look straight ahead, not really do anything. My kids would tell me that, Dad, you're twisting in your chair. So I'm looking over at Ron, and Ron is straight ahead, sitting up straight, very professional. And I remember telling him, I said, God, Ron, you know, you're really professional. I mean, you're taking, you're looking straight ahead. You're sitting tall. He said, well, that's because I have a back injury, and if I move, I'm going to cry. And so Ron, my suggestion is stop running into burning buildings. Yeah. Yeah. Thanks for everything you've done for the district and for me. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
December 14th, 2010. That was a heck of a night. You and I first joined the board that night. And that night we immediately said, this all CP thing is going to end. And we started that quest. I don't know if we ever actually made it to the end of that. Do you think so? Do you think we're done with that now? I hope so. But that was your idea. And I supported that, and we have supported each other on a lot of things ever since. I've really enjoyed working with you, and you know, for those that think we just come to these meetings and sit here and look at the agenda, that's not the way it is at all. Ron and I have met many, many times in different places. Sometimes out in your pool house, we'd go out there and we'd sit there and talk about things. We took over during a tough time, and we've gone through some tough times on this. And you know, I've enjoyed working with you. We've voted more of the same than not, but we've helped each other along the way, every step of the way. So I appreciate that, buddy, and I don't want this to be the last that we're seeing of each other. All right?
You got it. I had a different road with you. I worked with your wife for over 30 years, and she was my mentor, and an excellent one at that. My takeaways are going to be pretty short. I judge people by, one, their integrity, which you are loaded with. You live your life by being having a lot of integrity. And I think you value that, and I value it as well. So I admire you for that. Your integrity has carried you through many different things. And I think that's a true trait. Stuttering here. And the other area is your family. The wealth of the family you have around you, and the richness it brings you. And those two things bring together a unique and wonderful man to which you are, and which you've been to the community and to the school district. And so I thank you. Thank you. Nothing to add. No. You're a lawyer, you can say something.
I wholeheartedly join in all my colleagues in the amazing things that they've said. I too will tell a story. When I was first president, you were my vice president. And being a new president, it was great to have a wingman like you, someone with your experiences, and helped me get through the meetings and get through Robert's rules and all the procedures. But, you know, one of the things that I kept doing was I was banging that gavel and moving on, and we got to the end of it. And then at the end of my term, I nominated you as president, and I saw one of the first things you did was you picked up the gavel and the pedestal and you moved it to the right side. And I'd been using it on the left side the entire time, which isn't my dominant hand. And I said, "You can do that?" He said, "Well, of course, I'm right-handed." So I spent an entire year learning to be ambidextrous, but you truly, I will join in all my colleagues and say that you truly are an inspiration, and you were an inspiration for me. Two things. First off, your wife was my daughter's teacher at Tokay, and we saw what she was, and Mr. Porter too was her coach, and that meant a lot to us, and that if we could empower these type of individuals, attract them to the district, keep them in the district, make sure that these individuals were part of our children's lives, then that became a priority to me. Also, you, like me, came from public service. You did come from the traditional educational background. And that inspired me in many ways to even apply for this, to come from this different area. So there is no doubt that the Heverleys are celebrities in the Lodi community. Quite often, when you mention that you're on the Lodi School Board, they ask, "Oh, do you work with Ron?" And you say, "Oh, absolutely," and 100%. And that is very well deserved, and it's for the reasons that the board has talked about: your professionalism, your integrity, and 100% leaving this organization in a better place, a much better place than what you took over. So you will wholeheartedly be missed. And I know why you're leaving, because you have your own quorum to be going home to. So congratulations.
Thank you, Ron. Appreciate it.
Well, while I'm facing you, I want to thank you as fellow board members. Joe, I appreciate the history lesson. You're right. A lot of wonderful things have been accomplished in this district in the last few years. And you know, it was one of those things when I received my first promotion in the fire service. My dad said, "Congratulations, oh, by the way." A higher authority is a higher responsibility. And there is a lot of responsibility in the board, and I do appreciate each and every one of you. And so my heartfelt thanks for that. Now, I'd like to go back to my chair and face the audience and family and continue my comments, if you don't mind. Thank you. I had to write them down just to kind of keep me on track because I am a rather prolific talker at times. First of all, I want to thank the people of this district for allowing me to serve the children and families of this district. A lot of times people would ask me, "Why do you do that? How could you do that?" And I said, well, you know, there are frustrating times, of course. But I would not do this if I did not truly believe in its importance. Our students are worth the effort. Don't ever forget that. If you think that maybe as an employee that you're just a cog in the wheel, you're not. Okay? An agency or a business will stand or fall on their employees. Also, I'd like to thank my family. You can see, nice surprise, by the way. Thanks, y'all. My daughter's in Georgia, that's why I said y'all. Anyway, I do appreciate the support of my family. And I have to say, especially my wife, Susan, we make a good team. I thank you and the rest of the family for allowing me to share my time with the district, doing the business of the district. It does take time. You're well aware of that. And again, thank you for that. For my friends, I also want to say thank you for your support. And I want to give a special shout out to an old friend. Wait a minute. We're the same age. A longtime friend, Steve Rostamelli. He helped me do some of the filing of the forms and paperwork that you have to do with the registrar of voters periodically. And he did it voluntarily, and it was really appreciated because I didn't really want to do it. So he helped me tremendously, and I do appreciate that. To my friends within the district, I really appreciate the fact that you felt comfortable enough to call and talk to me and tell me things that, hey, you know, this is happening at our school, and it's great. We want you to come and stop by and visit. That is one of the wonderful things about being on the board is doing school activities. Also, they were not afraid to tell me some things that aren't going so well and that could be improved. And I told them I would can't promise the results you're looking for, but I can always promise you that I will bring it forward. When I retired after 35 years in the fire service, I retired in December of 2010, and I got sworn in on the board December 2010. So we joke around that out of the fire into the frying pan. And so that's pretty literal for me. One of the things that friends inside the district and outside of the district, when I first ran, I wanted to make sure that they would feel comfortable enough to tell me what they think. Their perspective was important for me. How am I doing? Am I staying focused and directed in taking care of our kids? They get one shot through the system, and every year is an important year for them. And I'm sure all of us know what a mess it was for the last couple of years. It's worth it. They need our help. They need our support. And so those folks, I do appreciate them kind of keeping me in line and making sure that I'm doing the right thing for the right reasons. I'm not going anywhere. If anybody knows Susan and I, we will stay active. We will stay involved. We're here. We will be involved in our grandchildren's schools. We are now, and we will continue to be. Even though I am going to get off the board, I'm sure that my children have plans for me with our 11 grandchildren. And Isaac, raise your hand. He is the oldest of 11. Thank you, Isaac. So we've got a long road to hoe for public education. So there you have it. And again, thank you. Please know that I do appreciate all of you. It does mean a lot to me. So thank you very much.
Next up is Mr. Neely.
Where gives you art skills?
Mr. Neely. joined the board in 2010 with Mr. Heverly, served as president 2011 and 2018. You did 2 tours as president?
Yep.
Vice President 2015 and 2017, and the clerk 2013, and begrudgingly in 2022. And they're laughing because he was not happy with us. I'd like to present this to you. There's many things I could say about Mr. Neely. One of them is you were very welcoming to new board members. You also championed causes that other people didn't want to. There wasn't a student or a challenging situation with students that you weren't afraid to use your voice. And while you and I agree on a lot of things, we do disagree from time to time, but I respect you. And we're fortunate enough in this community, and the district is fortunate to have you sit on the board for as long as you have, and your wisdom. I think the one thing that we're losing with these 2 board members is 12 years of experience, 12 years of situations they have been in that new board members haven't been in, 12 years of being a historian. If there's something I had a question about, or hey, how would you handle this, Mr. Neely would always answer the questions when I call. And I do appreciate that. You have been very supportive to me as a new president, and to myself as a new board member. I thank you, and I know our students are extremely fortunate to have you looking out for them, all of our students, all groups of students. Thank you, and we will continue to do your CP work.
I appreciate that.
It's been a long, tough year, and we are fortunate that you have given us all the time you can, and I appreciate that. I know your board members have a few words. Let's go reverse, Mr. Freitas.
You know, great comments, President McFarland. And George, not only a board member, but you've been a friend, an inspiration. I'm not going to go through the list of achievements because I know Mr. Nava has all those ready for me. So, but at first I thought I wanted to be on the board. There was a vacancy, and then I kind of dodged that bullet, and then come to find out no one wanted to be on the board. So I kept receiving these phone calls from this guy named George, who brother was a police chief and was a celebrity in the community again, named Neely. And I kept sending him, I was screening him, I kept sending him to voicemail. I wouldn't answer him because once I figured out what I had dodged on not getting selected for the board, that it was a pretty good thing not being on it. So, and then of course, one day the phone rang and I picked it up without looking, and these words were exactly, it gives me chills. This is George Neely, and we need you on the board. And he proceeded to talk to me for the next half hour. And you talk about persuasive at the end of that phone call. There was no doubt in our minds, my wife and I, that we had to do this. And thank you for being that inspiration and having that faith in me that I could be this board member. You've always challenged us to never be complacent and always do more. And I take that with me every single day. There's George's isms, you know, that, you know, if you can't change your people, then change your people, and, target 500, but I find myself throughout the day, WWGD, what would George do? So, in my daily life, you've been an exemplary board member. I think we always knew with your passions that we'd have you short term. I feel very grateful that I got to be on board with you, and that Lodi Unified had you for the time that we had. So congratulations on an amazing job as a board member, and you're an inspiration to all of us who serve and all of us who will serve after us. Thank you.
Well, hello there, longtime friend. I don't want to say old friend. Yes, we did come on the board together, and it was really good from the start. Even if we did not agree, it was okay. We knew it's okay to have an opinion, even though it's different. But there's a level of respect that needs to be there for a board to function. And you're right, one of the first things we tackled was the all-college prep model. When we looked at the data, because we're supposed to be data-driven, and you had tens of thousands of Ds and Fs going on, and the kids would be credits behind and on, it had to stop. And so we stopped the majority of it. I don't know if we stopped all of it. There's still some ideas out there, but that's okay. We'll, it'll be taken care of. One of the things that struck me is I've always talked about leadership, and here again, now you were on the board too, and you were talking about leadership. There's a big difference between management and leadership, okay? And that was one of the things that we tried to champion. I'll never forget when Measure U was coming out. You wanted to talk to as many of the public groups that you could, and your slogan was, "We need you." And I thought, brilliant, short and sweet, it helps them remember it, and it was great, and it passed, thank goodness, and we thank the public for that, and wonderful things are happening all over the district for that. Yeah, I could go on, but yes, we do go way back. It was a good ride. I cannot believe it's been 12 years. It's just crazy, but thank you for your steadfast character. Character does count. That is the slogan of the Boy Scouts. Character counts, and it does. So your character is appreciated. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
George, I guess I'm one of the junior members here, but and we've bumped heads a few times. But what I always admired in you was your passion. And that is something I always like to surround myself with, are people that are passionate about what they're doing. And you have that, you will always have that. The other thing was brought to me by Gary Castle, Bonnie Castle's husband, when I got elected to the school board. He said, remember, you're going to be the voice of the voiceless. And I didn't really dawn on me what he was talking about. Until I met you, until I saw you in action, you were always there for those people that didn't have a voice. You were going to be their voice, their champion for our students that don't have that arena. And you made it your lifelong work to be there for them. And that is the one thing that I admire so much about you, is that you were there for those that don't have that capability. You want to be their champion, you want to speak for them, you care about them. And I will always remember that. That's something I'll hold very dear to me when I think of you, that you were the champion for the voices. Thank you.
George comes to the board with a variety of experiences that led him to serving so well on the school board. It started with enlisting in the Army at age 19 and then being promptly sent to Vietnam. One of his first teaching experiences was being a drill sergeant. And by the way, drill sergeants do more than just harass troops and yell at them. They actually teach people how to survive. He was a pilot. He worked in sales. By George's own admission, he said the best job he ever had, though, was teaching sixth grade at Creekside School. So no one does more research than George about educational issues. I mean, I look over here. I mean, it's an encyclopedia stuff that he does for every meeting. You can always count on George to have a good idea that will help the districts and students. And one of those ideas, I'm not sure if it was a good idea, was to make me his vice president. I think my second year on the board. But it was a good idea because I learned a lot about what I had to do and what being a school board member is all about. Actually, I will miss you as a partner on the board, but we'll still be friends. And I expect that after action report by the end of the week. Yeah. Thanks, George.
George, I have a lot of memories when you were out in the audience.
Let's hope you forget those.
It was great though. I remember one time he says, "Oh, you board members don't have any leadership." And boy, that raised me up because George doesn't know me. But anyway, we had fun. I know you and Ron would sit out there and for good things. It was good things for our board to listen to that, and it was very constructive. When I was president, George, I want to thank you very much for taking the added work that you did in evaluation. My gosh, I asked you one time, I said, Joe, I got to take care of it. And that was such a load off of a president's responsibility because you went and took care of that. You got all the numbers and everything and came back and give us all these numbers, and I really appreciate that. Again, like Ron, you guys were involved with Measure U a lot, and then you got the God Kids Foundation started, and then all the buildings that we have that you were here, I mean, you're responsible for this because the board approved of all these, like the Tokay Stadium, the Lodi High buildings, and all the elementary schools that we have. I tell you, in the last 12 years that you've had, I want to thank you for your great support to education. My God, support, and just, I thought it was, I don't want to repeat Mr. Porter's words because that was well said. You care for everybody, and that's the most important thing. When you sit right there and you're talking about, we need to do this for these kids and that kid, you got my heart, man, because you were always with that. Again, great accomplishments. You were always, like I said, concerned about all the audience comments, and when they finished, you listened. What needed to be done, you directed that to the superintendent at the end. It was on the next board, actually the next agenda, and we got things done that way. I want to thank you, George, for your friendship, and enjoy your vacation. I know you like to travel, so you'll probably be going with a lot of places. Thank you.
Thanks, sir.
I'll let a picture happen.
I'm saying
That's what I do.
Like Mr. Heverly, I'm going to go sit down. You know, I'll start by thank you all very much, and I've got some things written I want to talk about here. Well, like Ron, I wrote things down because I just had my 70th birthday, so things start to fade a little bit after that. So,
Are we going to have to do an action item after this? I just want to know if we're going to, anything you're going to say is coming back to
you
the.
might.
Take notes.
I haven't said it yet.
I'll take notes.
We'll see how it comes out. You know, it's, thank you. See, I forgot. Thanks, I appreciate it. This is really a bittersweet moment. I left Lodi Schools in 1970 when I graduated Lodi High. And I went out and I played Army for a while and played corporate executive for a while, and then came back in 2005 as a teacher. So that works out now to be about 17 years in public education. I'm going to tell you all, it's been amazing. You know, it's been so rewarding, and it's just been so much fun. And I'm really going to miss that. Since I got on the board, it's also been frustrating at times, and sometimes infuriating. And I'm not going to miss that part of it so much. But I want to thank everybody that's been a part of this experience, because it really has been an experience. It's been a lot of work, as Ron, you can attest to. We've spent a lot of time on this. All the board members can attest to that. It's not just what we do here at the meetings. There's a lot of research, a lot of work that goes into this. But I want to thank everybody, including the parents and the students, who have made this such a special experience. And I want to thank, my colleagues, my teachers and administrators that I've worked with. And I said I wasn't going to name names. I said that to myself. I'm not going to name names tonight because, God, there's so many. I'd be here forever. But I do want to drop two names, and that's Sonia Renhold and Micah Maroka, who are just incredible people, incredible support, go-to people when I needed questions answered, when I wanted to find out what people thought, because they would be honest with me and not look at me just as a board member, but as George, and they'd tell me the truth. So that really helped out a lot. I also want to thank the incredible staff that we've got. Both when I was out at the schools, I remember my first custodian, Dino, man, he would come by every night and he'd sit there and we'd talk about everything that went on. And the bus drivers that I've talked to, everybody that has been so helpful, the people in this building, my gosh, I've spent so many hours in the various offices here in this building discussing public education with them and getting trained, getting educated myself. So I really do appreciate that. And then there are those that I have worked so close with, the Board of Education and Dr. Washer. And to my colleagues on the board, I got to tell you, it has been an absolute privilege to have been associated with you for these years. It's been just a thrill. And you know what? I really do believe in this system that has 7 people that by all indications are very strong-willed and passionate about their positions, that we have to come together in one opinion. And then we've got to support each other on that. And the way that we've been able to do that is just it's amazing. I look at some of these other boards, and I was with the California School Board Association for 10 of those 12 years, I think it was. And so I was a delegate, and I went out there and I saw their school boards. And my God, they have problems. They don't have it like us. And also, thank you guys all. So, and guys have inclusion too. I
was going to bring it up.
Thank you all for that. There's a little Georgia pun on it. All right, for everything. There's a lot of passion that came from our discussions. We argued a lot, but we came to decisions and we supported each other's decisions. And that's what's important. And Dr. Washer, wow, have we been through some times, huh? Started 2 years before the board. So I want to thank you for all of your understanding over this time period and how much you've helped me. We didn't always agree, but there was never any doubt in my mind that you totally put your heart into this district and gave this district everything you possibly could. And I appreciate that, and I'll never forget that. You even mastered that skill that when I came up with an idea that was kind of off base, that you could convince me that it was off base and still make me feel good about it. So I do appreciate that. It's been great working together, and I'm going to miss the relationship that we've had in this situation. It's been fantastic. And that brings me to the final one that I want to thank here. That's my beautiful and brilliant wife for supporting me without hesitation during these last 12 years. She allowed me to make an incredibly bad financial decision by giving up a job that I loved and running for this $750 a month position. She's seen firsthand some of the frustrations that go along with being a board member. And she never wavered in her support. And that means so much to me. And for that and many other reasons, sweetheart, I thank you very much. Now, the people involved in public education, I'm gonna make one final pitch here before I go, okay? Only gonna take a few minutes, I promise, but one more pitch. The people involved in public education are some of the best people I have ever known, and there's no doubt about that. When I first got involved, that's the first thing I noticed. There's people that work here. The people involved in public education are fantastic. Even when we disagree, I try to remember that people take this position because they're advocating for children. I believe that. And I'm asking everyone to believe that as well. There's no reason to call anybody any names here or anything else. Everybody is here and they're giving of their time to do what's best for children. Simply because you disagree on an issue does not mean that the other person doesn't care about children as much, or that they want to do anything to harm children. Our leaders should set the example by showing understanding for those people that work in public education because they want to help the children of our community. We should not paint people that work in public education as adversaries or not caring, because it's just not true. The job we all do is incredibly important. You see, I truly believe that public education is the answer to our problems. Public education is the answer to crime and to drugs. It's the answer to poverty, discrimination, and the extremism that currently plagues our country. And contrary to what outsiders think, we are not here to push some political agenda or teach children what to think. We want to give our children the tools and teach them the research concepts and evaluation information so they can evaluate information so that they can think for themselves. We want to create the opportunity for all students to meet and exceed the learning standards set by the state of California. Our task is to take children from extremely diverse backgrounds with different abilities that come to us with different levels of academic skills and preparedness, and get them to meet the same set of standards in basically the same amount of time. Now, that's almost an impossible task, but we can't look at it that way. The stakes for our children are too high. If we give up on this, then we give up on our kids, and we can never do that. It doesn't matter where they come from, or who their parents are, or what their situation is outside of the school. Their academic success is still our responsibility. And to meet that responsibility, it's going to take more than just what happens in the classroom. It's going to take more than just a new curriculum. It's going to take commitment from all of us, from our entire community, to make that happen. We have students that need our help desperately, because without that help, they will fail and become another statistic. We have students that live in poverty, that don't have enough to eat or a safe place to sleep. We have students that come from homes where domestic violence is a regular occurrence. These students live in a world that is different from the world where education is valued and sought after. That difference is the starting place between these children and children that are fortunate enough to be with our more affluent families. And this is called the equity gap, or inequity, however you want to say it. I'm asking you to please keep pushing to help those students. And I will probably be back pushing to help them as well. If we can help them achieve academic success, we will go a long way in improving the academic environment for all of our students. Classrooms will become much more friendly, and we can perhaps help break that chain of poverty. That's our responsibility. And finally, almost finally, as a wise educator, Dr. Saul Jackson Neely said, "The crisis does not prevent us from addressing inequity, and equity is the crisis." And finally, thank you for allowing me to be part of Lodi Unified School District Board of Education. It's been an absolute honor.
board meeting after that.
I'm ready to do it.
Hi, Grandma.
Is the daughter from Georgia here?
No.
No,
Oh, I thought you said what? You said y'all.
I have 3 more grandkids out of state.
Ah,
They'll be here shortly, though. She's almost done with her.
So while our other board members make it back, congratulations to both of you for 12 years. After the end of 4, I don't want to say I don't know how you did it, but I want to say congratulations to both of you.
thank you.
Dr. Washer, superintendent's report is up next.
Thank you, President McFarland, members of the board. I'd like to congratulate McNair High School and their hackathon team for taking both first and second place at the 6th annual San Joaquin County H2O Hackathon competition. I want to thank Ms. Ramirez for her work with students. The competition asked students to create a drought app, water conservation campaign, story, poem, or video to inspire Californians to save water. Students taking part in the H2O Hackathon are learning computer coding, collaboration, critical thinking, problem solving, and other skills that will help prepare them for the future with their jobs today and tomorrow. We have some pictures here of 2 teams, one taking first place and one taking second place. Also like to recognize Scientific Specialties of Lodi. They have gifted Jen Robinson Buck's biology class at Tokay High School with a generous donation of over $1,500 in biotechnology supplies. The donation was facilitated by Tokay PTSA, and there's a picture there for you. We have another grant to share with you. The California Department of Food and Agriculture has awarded $314,000 to our Nutrition Services Division for their project titled Lodi Unified Nutrition Services Farm to School Edible Nutrition Program. You might remember when Ms. Rostamilli was here at a previous board meeting explaining the project when she gave a report to the board. We're excited to hear about this award and look forward to when the incubators are placed at select school sites and begin growing the herbs and vegetables. Want to also let you know that ABC News will visit Lodi High School's woodshop class next Tuesday at Weber Cabinet Company in Lodi. Remember, this is a new program that we've started where students will learn on-the-job skills at the cabinet company that they can use in future jobs. This is a brand new program, and we have a group of Lodi High School students signing up for it, and I've heard there is a waiting list. So hopefully in the future it can be expanded. Want to recognize our very own board president, Susan McFarland. She will be featured on California School Board Association's blog on December 6th. We will publicize prior to the date so that you can all have access to that. So congratulations to our board president. We look forward to seeing that.
We can leave comments.
I was just cuter than you guys.
I want to thank Manlio Silva Elementary School for inviting me to their honors assembly today. They recognized their honor students. The multi-use room was packed, not only with the students who were being recognized, but also their parents, grandparents, and family members there to support them. And thank you to their PTA for supplying their morning refreshments. I do also have some comments for our board members who are leaving us. Mr. Heberly, there is no doubt what you are about, and that's students. You have been clear from day one and every day since that that is what you are here for. And there are many reasons why I appreciate you. You always took time to explain your views to me and sometimes your votes, and you didn't have to do that. But you felt it was important for me to understand who you are as a person, and I appreciate that. You gave me your time, even when you had others who you would prefer to spend your time with. And my phone call of, do you have a minute, usually turned into about 30 minutes. And I thank you for that. You listened to my ideas, my thoughts, and my concerns, and you helped me process. I want to thank you for supporting me for all these years, especially during the challenging times. You could tell when I was having a difficult time, and you always gave me your time. You lifted me up when I was down, and you kept me focused on the mission of this district, even amongst many distractions. I greatly appreciate you, and I will miss you. Mr. Neely, I love our story. For those who were here at that time, you were a vocal employee out in the audience, and I remember McNair High School Board meeting very well, as I'm sure you do too. But on one night, you became not only a board member, but board president. And I had the opportunity to get to know you better. It may have been a rocky start, but I quickly learned what type of person you are and what you are all about. And I quickly learned about your passion and your laser-like focus on doing what is right for kids, no matter what. I also remember a moment of pure panic when I worked with CSU Stanislaus to bring an administrative program here so that teachers in our district and employees of our district could work on their administrative credential in maybe a more convenient location here at the district office. When I saw my roster, I saw your name. I was never more nervous in teaching a class than that one. But you were a pure joy, making me feel comfortable, making everyone in the room feel comfortable, sharing your ideas and thoughts, and helping us all develop as leaders. You have been the voice for those who don't always speak up, and you have helped every group in this district, no matter what. You have helped shape this district. Your work with CSBA is just one example of your efforts to improve education, not just here, but statewide. Thank you for being my mentor. Thank you for pushing me. Thank you for encouraging me to take risks. And most importantly, thank you for being my friend. I will miss you. That concludes my report.
Moving on to comments from student reps. Welcome. Who would like to go first? Miss? Okay, great. Thank you.
So, starting off, we have our Winterfest Rally, Spirit Week, and Formal coming up this December. Our theme is Holiday in Times Square. Winter sports are starting tryouts, so very exciting. We have our International Rally / Carnival Club coordinating starting, which I'm very happy to see. We haven't seen a national carnival in its full force in about 3 years. So I'm very happy to be a part of bringing that back to life. We have our blood drive coming in December as a part of our season of giving. And congratulations to Brenna Priya. She's the first Bear Creek student to receive a college scholarship for golf.
Whoa. Very nice.
Thank you. Are we ready? Ms. Sanders? Yes.
Okay. All right, so for our school activities and programs, AP Trivia Night is coming up soon on the 19th, and a number of our AP students will be there to work the event. The Great American Smokeout Day is this Thursday, November 17th. Sponsored by the American Cancer Society, Red Ribbon Club will be hosting a no smoking campaign on the 18th. Lodi High students have been participating in an after-school wood shop and cabinetry program with Weber's Cabinets. A huge thank you goes to Weber's Cabinets for their generosity, as well as Dr. Wari and Mr. Luttrell from Lodi Unified, who have made this opportunity possible for many of our students. In the world of student government, the Lodi High Student Store will be open to students beginning tomorrow. Students who earn lead tickets from their teachers and staff are eligible to spend their tickets to purchase a variety of school spirit items. In the section of performances, presentations, and events, we have our Sparking Friendships Club, which I am so happy to be a part of. We hosted a canned food drive and raised support by bringing in hundreds of cans, as well as non-perishable food items for the Salvation Army. special student/staff accomplishments or recognitions. A number of our students worked the voting polls last Tuesday to earn money and learn about the political my principal wrote this word. Intricacies? Intricacies. Thank you, Mr. Auerbach. All right. And, where is it? Let me find myself. Oh, intricacies, thank you, involved in an election. An outstanding leading student on campus, who I am proud to call my friend, Lucas Goulart, won the Action on Behalf of Children Award. And then there's another title which says, Children Help My Children. In the world of co-curricular, our football, girls volleyball, girls tennis, and girls golf made it to the section finals. Through playoffs, boys water polo made it to section quarterfinals, and girls made it to semifinals. On November 21st, we have a home basketball game against Kimball High School from Tracy. The theme will be one of Lodi High's classics, Whiteout. The next basketball home game will be against Oakdale on December 14th. The theme will be Hawaiian. Please feel free to join us for any of those games. Upcoming activities or events. I'm going to try and say this right. The Womble Rumble will take place on December 3rd on Lodi High's track to raise money for our track and field team.
Thank you both for your student comments. Any questions from the board?
Was this young lady going to school on a golf scholarship?
The fall semester next year.
What school?
Oh, sorry. Grand Canyon University.
Absolutely. I read that somewhere. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Nava. We're moving on to comments from the public. I will give you a brief overview. We have two comments. Sarah Pullman, you'll be first up, and then Mrs. Heverly, you'll be next up. Solid green lights means we have 1 to 2 minutes left. A flashing green means 1 minute, orange is 30 seconds left, and a red and beeping means time's up. A 20-minute time period has been set aside for the public to address the board on items not listed on the agenda. Each public speaker shall limit his or her comments to 3 minutes. The board cannot engage in dialogue about public comments because of the restrictions placed upon us by the California Brown Act. Sarah, are you there? She is.
Sure am.
Hi there, my name is Sarah Pullman. I'm a teacher at Murata Middle School. The issue I wanted to mention to you guys tonight is staffing. We are still having major staffing issues, and they are affecting my students in a big stressful way. One way is that we are really lacking in consistent busing. I have students who wait for up to an hour after school gets out to be able to get on a bus to go home. That really cuts into not only time with their families, but time to do any homework that they may have. And they get really frustrated when they have to sit outside for an hour in perhaps the rain or the cold when it comes to November. So I would love to get some consistent busing so they know what bus to get on, where it's going, and what time their parents can expect them safely home. The other issue is that we still have 4 long-term subs at our school. We are well into the second quarter now, and those positions have not yet been filled. That's not to say nothing of the several teachers who have been working with no prep time for the entire school year. I'm one of those who happens to be on a 120 at Murata. The stress is building. We try to support each other as much as we can on campus. I do my best to help out the long-term subs in the English department. But I just wanted to remind you all that students are much better served by teachers who have a break during the day from live teaching and a chance to do other things. So if there's any movement we can make on the staffing issue, my campus certainly would appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mrs. Hepperly. And then Michelle, you're up next. I know you're here somewhere.
Good evening, Lodi Unified School Board and personnel. First of all, my topic is trustee, because as you know, the one unique thing about being a trustee on the school board is that your entire job is to take care of children. Matter of fact, you're the only people whose job is to do that. The governor has his thing that he does, the council has theirs, But trustee is a special thing because it says that you are in charge of the most important thing that we have, and that's our children. So with that, I wanted to say thank you to a lot of you. And Mr. Neely, I know, 12 years ago, you're at your house, and we were looking forward to making waves. And I actually attended many school board meetings previously to get rid of Concept 6, which was, of course, detrimental to students. It was a long battle, but finally we won. And I call you Mr. Heatherly. So we had a conversation about which person would run for the board. And we agreed that the most diplomatic person would run, because that is not my forte. I do want to say, even like at 5 o'clock this morning, I was working on making tests for the competition in March, because it takes forever to make them. I'm only at 67 questions, and I have to have over 250. So I just want to say how much I appreciate all the work, Mr. Porter. We did something unique at our school when we all worked together. And I find that not all schools do that. And so I always appreciated that. And we all had our unique things that we did, but coming together, that's why we had a quality program. So this won't be the last time you see me, because I believe that all children, regardless, deserve to have the educational opportunities that for them, because each person is unique, come in different places at different times, but they all deserve to be challenged and to move forward. And I work on that pretty much every day, and I wish all of you great things, and I appreciate all of the work that you've done. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mrs. Haverly? Thank you for all the great work that you've done for us in our district, and especially thank you for letting this guy hang out with us and keeping him in line.
In our household, there's the scariest words ever. My husband will say, he said, when my wife says, "I've been thinking." He's a great person at implementing, as you would guess, with all of the work he's done on facilities and other things. So, and I appreciate all the help you give for the science teams. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Welcome. How's the foot, ankle?
Hey, I can move. Good evening, President McFarland, members of the board, Dr. Washer, Mr. Young, student representatives. Thank you for your insight. I just, with tonight's recognition, must say as the first time I heard the name Heberly was in 1979. Teacher that I had at Senior L. And our paths then crossed later on with your community involvement with Kiwanis. You have, over decades, your family and you have contributed so much to our community, and that doesn't go unrecognized. I also want to thank you for when calls were made about things as a teacher that were not going right, you were the first to sit down and listen, to show up at our school site and have teachers tell you what was on their mind, and you listened and you took notes, and things we didn't always agree over the years, but I think you listened and worked towards sometimes compromise. I think that your support for all students, all school sites, Thank you. That is valuable in this day and age. Thank you for Measure U from our very first meeting and looking at the drawings that architects labeled things wrong on Needham's campus, and you were there to say, whoa, why is that off limits and called a church? So thank you for that, all that you've done, pools, seeing the decrepitness and disrepair of Lodi High. Mr. Neely, thank you for your service as we studied veterans this week in our classroom. Thank you for your service to our community also long-term. Thank you for always bringing up data, setting up committees, both of you, from technology and bringing us forward from that very first meeting with Randy Melandro and that idea of having a tech committee going forward to bringing us forward with technology in our district. So to that end, and my time is up, thank you for all that you've done for the students in Lodi Unified and reaching out to community members to help our students extend from just college prep to bring CTE and make all the doors open for students. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Sonia, you're up next. We look forward to hearing your band next board meeting.
Very excited to have a rock band. It does make me happy. Mr. Heberly and George, I can't call you Mr. Neely. Mr. Heberly and Mr. Neely, I really think that this district has been blessed to have both of you. And there have been so many really good changes that have happened in this district in the last 12 years that you were on the board, and I appreciate the work that you both have done. I think it's really interesting that I met you, George, at a board meeting, and we, did some really great political walks together for education, and then I walked for both of you about getting nominated to the seats you now hold, and I really appreciate all that you've both done. George, I just want to say to you, you inspired people to be the best version of themselves. And I thank you for that. I would not be in the position that I'm in that I have discovered is my life's passion if it weren't for you. True story, I never wanted to be a principal. George really pushed me to it, and then he roped my husband in, so after that there was no winning. But as much as I kicked and scratched and fought, this is now my second year, so a whole year and how many quarter? Let's just say a year and a quarter. And truthfully, even though it's been utterly the most difficult position I've ever had, it's also been by far the most rewarding. So George, I thank you for that, because without you, I don't know that I would have seen this. So I'm sure that you will keep inspiring people that way, and I appreciate you both very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Sonia. Thank you to all our speakers this evening. We're moving on to consent agenda A. Any board members like to pull anything from consent agenda A? Anyone? Thank you, Mr. Knackstead. Anybody from the public consent agenda A to pull? Students? No?
Second.
Mr. Novitt is the second. You want us to let you motion and...
That's a tradition, isn't it?
Better speak up then.
You two better get engaged in this meeting then.
Gary beat me to it.
Supposed to shine shoes today, too.
Yeah. We have a first out of Mr. Connected and a second out of Mr. Novitt. I'd like to call for the student vote first. Hey, I remembered. Student vote.
Aye. Aye.
Thank you. And board vote.
I lost my shirt. Did I just say aye?
No. We'll wait for you. We'll wait for you.
Wait for you to extend.
No, just.
Under pressure.
Somebody want to do the Jeopardy music?
Join the meeting. Join the meeting.
I did, I joined it twice.
Hit the top part. Let's hit the top, log in at the top.
It says log out. I'm already logged in. Log out, log in, log out.
This is where the music plays for like commercial.
You're gonna miss this, guys.
There you go.
Yay.
And board approves consent agenda A70. Would anyone like to pull anything from consent agenda B, board? Public.
Move to approve.
Second.
There you go.
Thank you, Mr. Neely
All right.
and Mr. Heberly. Any board comments? Any public comments? Call for the vote. Board approved 7-0. Moving on to action items. OAI 1. Mr. McKilligan, there are 4 to start with.
The first 3 are items that afford the same benefits to the mental health therapists that have been afforded to other employee groups. Number 4 is the approval of an agreement with LUSG.
Thank you. Let's start with OAI 1. Any comments from the board? Any comments from the public? Any student comments? Thank you, Mr. Heberly. And Mr. Neely, would you like to second that?
I'll second that.
Thank you, Mr. Neely. Student vote. You can go together.
Aye.
Thank you. Board vote. Board approves 7-0. OAI 2, one-time off-salary schedule payment of $500 to mental health therapists. Mr. McKilligan has already presented. Any board comments?
Move to approve.
Thank you, Mr. Neely.
Second.
Mr. Knack said a second. Any board comments? Any public comments? Student comments? Student vote.
Aye.
Thank you. Board vote. Board approved 7-0. OAI 3, Mr. McKilligan has presented the increasing the annual district contribution towards health and welfare benefit for the mental health therapist by $528. Any board comments? Any public comments? Any student comments? I need a motion and a second.
Motion approved.
Thank you, Mr. Heberly.
Second.
Mr. Neely. Student vote.
Aye. Aye.
Thank you. Board vote. Board approved 7-0. OAI 4. Mr. McKilligan has also presented this ratification of the memorandum of understanding with Lodi Unified Supervisory Group. Board comment. Public comment. Student comment.
Move to approve.
Thank you, Mr. Neely. Mr. Heberly will second. Student vote.
Aye.
Thank you. Board vote. Board approves 7-0. OAI 5, Mr. Young, approval of Associate Superintendent of Education Services salary range.
President McFarland, members of the board, before you this evening is the salary range of the Associate Superintendent position on the salary schedule, the management salary schedule.
Thank you. Board comments. Public comments. Student comments.
Move to approve.
Thank you, Mr. Neely.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Heberly. Student vote.
Aye.
Thank you. Board vote. Board approves 6-1. Is that an?
That's it.
One no. I'm sorry, I didn't. Mr. Porter. OAI 6, improvement to the confidential and management annual health and welfare benefit. Mr. McKilligan.
I was asked to bring this forward tonight. I don't really have anything to add.
Thank you very much. Board comments. Public comment. Oh, you have a board comment. Come on back.
I have to do that. I did a little bit of research on this, a tad. If you take and this is for, I assume, 23, we started in January, Mr. McGill, is that correct? January 1st?
I need some help from the people that were involved in this because I was not involved in the discussion, so I don't really have any answers on this.
But that's another thing. My mind's actually not all over the
Madam President,
Yes.
it will be for the plan year beginning January 1st. However, the first deduction is the December 31st page.
Okay, my next question was this presented before the board before? Or is this the first time it's coming to the board?
You mean
Have we discussed this as
in public?
I'm sorry?
Can't talk about this.
Okay, we can't talk.
Closed session,
That's
yeah.
fine. Well, then, how did we arrive at the amount of $7,325? Can we talk about that?
Yeah, what was shared with me is this is the amount, the lowest amount of all of the represented groups, which right now happens to be LPPA. So that's what that amount is you see right there.
Thank you. Now, doing a little bit of research in this, if, this is just me talking out loud, if the average administrator salary is $130,000, let's just say average, for all our administrators that we have in the district, and they receive the 6.5% raise this year, that would amount to about $8,000 on $130,000 average. I think I'm a little low on my numbers here. Then if we turn around and give them this $7,000, $325, that would give them $15,450 for next year. Well, we would start at the beginning of January of 23. So that would technically be a raise of $15,450, which is close to 13%. Again, my estimates are rough. So are we looking at tonight is even though this goes on to their benefits package, and it's a cap, it also increases their salary. So we're looking at a $15,450 raise, which is roughly 13% for administrative that averages $130,000. So it's a 13% raise. Are we going to be doing that for all employee groups? And the answer is no. We're not. So I'm struggling with this tonight because I think it's an abomination of what's happening. How we look at and when I was crunching these numbers, and then I started looking at Elk Grove, their salary schedule for their management, and I was looking at our salary schedule for our management, I was kind of surprised because we're doing quite well. If you look at Elk Grove versus us in terms of management. The fifth year for a principal there is 149. Ours is 161, I think it is. I might be a little bit off. But we are doing quite well. And on top of that, we're going to do a 13% raise. I'm struggling with this. We have people that can barely get by making their insurance payments or their rent. And here we are giving out a 13% raise, and that goes up with their salaries in terms of the amount of dollars. And we have a fiduciary responsibility to taxpayers. And right now, the state is about $8 billion behind in their tax collections. Don't say this is not going to affect us. Don't tell me, no, we'll take care of the other groups down the road. Because we won't. Taught too many years in this district. 42 years I've been in this district. We won't. And yeah, I'm hot about this item. Looks like some people are trying to feed it to trough, and I don't like it. Don't like it at all. I don't know why it's being brought to us. I understand that we have this need to attract and retain, excuse me. From what I can see right now, we have one principal maybe out and a couple of VPs at the high school level that we are adding. And we're out a hell of a lot more custodians, support staff, and teachers than we are. And I'm not pandering, because tonight the vote could be over for me. I could be a dead man walking up here, meaning I'm done. This is an abomination, and I cannot support it at all. I think this board would be reckless to approve it, unless you want to give everybody a 13% raise across the board. Then I'm good. I made my 2 cents now.
Thank you. Any other comments from the board?
I have a question for Mr. Khan.
Yes.
Mr. Khan, explain this, please.
The actual dollar amounts tie back into the July 12th compensation study. When we looked at it, there were 5 employee positions that were substantively underpaid relative to county averages. That is as...
I think we're on the wrong.
Yeah.
OAI 6.
No, this
Okay.
is, so, in the July 12th study, there were 5 underpaid classes. 4 of them are listed down at the bottom in the report. The other substantively underpaid class of employee was administrators in management, relative to total compensation in the county. So, by the calculations in the compensation study, even this does not bring management up to the countywide average.
Thank you, Mr. Khan. Mr. Newman?
You know, I can't see myself supporting this right now. And it's not your fault. It's not anybody's fault who brought it up. I just don't remember it. And when my son passed, I didn't miss a meeting, so I don't remember it being discussed at any other meeting. I don't know if you guys discussed it then or not.
Can you speak up?
Kind of irritating. Oh, I'm sorry. I apologize.
Thank you.
I'm saying I don't remember this being discussed before. Like I said, I did miss one meeting, and maybe it happened then. But I'm going to need more information before I can support this.
So this amount, it says minimum annual health and welfare benefit contribution. So is this establishing a cap for these 2 groups? A medical cap?
I believe the cap for those 2 groups were established at the Bear Creek meeting with .008. So this would add to that. Actually, this would replace it, as I understand.
This would what?
Replace that amount.
Okay, so if this is the cap and they elect not to take health insurance, they do not receive the benefit.
That would be correct, yes, sir.
So this amount does not go on their salary schedule, or does it go into their salary schedule?
Does not go under the salary schedule.
So, hold on. You'll have a chance. I know where you're going. So, right now, their health benefits are on their salary. And if we establish this, then there's another pool of money that they can draw on for their health care.
When you,
Mr. Gilligan is coming to them.
when you took the action the last time, you ended salary, benefits on the salary schedule. That's off the salary schedule, it's gone. You established a really small cap, the last one. This simply replaces that for the competitive reason that Leonard was saying. That's all this does, just replaces that to make it more competitive. But administrators no longer have benefits on the salary schedule. If they don't take the benefits, they don't get the cap, just like anybody else.
Just like the other.
Everybody else, same thing.
Okay. Because that's what I thought was happening with the 0.8%.
That's correct.
Okay. I'll go ahead and leave it at that, let the public talk.
I real quickly, Dr. Wash, can you clarify, when we have a discussion in closed session, that cannot come out publicly?
Correct.
Nor can we make comments about it?
Correct.
So if a board member is confused if something happened in closed session, then we need to address the specific comment in closed session, am I correct?
As long as it is agendized in the closed
Agendized
session.
correctly. Just wanted to clarify that. Any more board comments?
I didn't. What about the 528? Is that added in as well, under cap?
This amount would replace the 528 and the .008.
Add to it or replace it?
Replace.
When they retire, are they given a stipend at all?
Only if they're eligible for the OPEB.
If they are, what do they get?
The same as everybody else.
So they do get a dollar amount when they retire? A cap amount for insurance?
If they've met the 10-year if they met the 10-year district provided post-employment benefit.
And how much is that?
$15,000. And
So they do have retirement health insurance?
Well, everybody in the district does if you meet the 10-year.
Everybody?
Everybody.
I'm sorry, it's not that dollar amount. No, it's not that.
This is from members of the board. Your board policy has that spelled out under administration, health and welfare benefits, and retirement. I don't have the exact amount. I believe it's the health benefit is $5,000 roughly.
But even though they don't get health insurance, in 2005 it was placed on their salary. I think it was $425 a month. I don't know what the total was. You can do the math, $5,000. So since that time, they've been getting increments on that, the cost of living and so forth. But when they retire, as long as they met the 10-year threshold, they do get money added towards their health benefit.
Yeah, I don't have the exact board policy in front of me, Mr. Porter, but your board policy does spell that out.
They get something,
If they take the health.
if we can say that. Okay. I just wanted to clarify that.
Go ahead.
Okay, did you say something about this was replacing the raise that would go on the salary?
Not the raise, no, sir.
Okay, so they've still got the 5.07 and the 6.43, I think it was.
5.6.
What's that?
6.56.
6.5, it worked out to be 12.43 altogether, right? When it's compounded. So they still get that. And then we're going to put in another 7,000.
Yeah.
What would the .08 come out to be?
$130 a month per person.
And this is, but you said this was to take the health benefits off of the salary. Isn't that what you said?
This creates a health and welfare cap like every other.
Okay, all right.
Actually, it adds to the one that the board provided on September 20th.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah, I understand.
Any other board comments? Public comment? Oh, I'm sorry, student comments.
I do have to leave. I have a lot
Absolutely.
of, and it's
Absolutely.
past 8:30.
Yeah,
But I also wanted to say, Mr. Neely, I don't know if I'm saying it right, Herbal? Heverly. So I'm sorry, it looks like herbs. I just wanted to say, you guys really, I've only been to 3 meetings, I think, so far. But thank you for giving a voice to the voiceless and being there to support students, especially in the dark times, as I would call it, COVID. That makes a huge difference to a lot of us. That it's very kind. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Good evening, Dr. Washer, Mr. Young, members of the board. I have a couple questions to start out with and a couple comments. Mr. McKilligan, you said that they voted to end the benefit cap. What do you mean by that?
The action they took back when they did the .8 ended benefits on the salary schedule and created a separate cap.
How did it end? Did you remove the 427 and every raise thereafter from their salary?
No, it ended.
So it became part of their salary?
No, it means administrators no longer got any of the health cap money included on their salary.
That doesn't make any sense.
That doesn't make any sense because you didn't remove anything from their salary. I have a salary schedule that used to be online, and at the bottom of the salary schedule, it says benefits are included in the salary. So if there's one thing that you guys have learned from me is I try not to spew things that aren't true. And confidential and management have all had a cap on their paycheck since 2005. And it started at $427, which I believe is the amount that they're eligible for when they retire to help them towards their benefits. So the frustration that CSEA has is you guys have not been transparent. And I think Mr. Khan just said it himself, that the principals are low on the salary study. So how is this helping their salary? If they're looking at their salary, now I totally understand total compensation. I totally understand that. But CSEA would respect the fact if we were just transparent and we just said exactly what it is that we're doing and we're giving principals more money. So if you say that this isn't going on their salary, the .80 plus the 528 is still not represented on the benefit matrix. Which leads me to believe that this is not going to be represented on the benefit matrix. Do you guys know what I mean when I say benefit matrix? Mr. Nana, do you know what I mean?
No, I don't. Explain it to me.
Okay, sure. Every group has one of these. Yes, every group has one. So if the management were to have a cap, then it would be represented here.
Right.
The .80 is still not on there, and neither is the 528. So it frustrates us because we don't feel that you're being transparent. So if the .80 isn't going on their salary, at what point will we see it on the matrix, along with the 7325? I was kind of figuring, I'm not an mathematician and I never will try to pretend that I am one. I was figuring roughly between a 6.5% and a 7325 was about an 11 or 12% raise. And classified is currently asking for 13.26. So it doesn't sound like we're that far off from what the admin have received. And I would also like to say that classified on the last go around, we received total compensation, first time ever that we received total compensation. And because of that, I believe is what led to the .80. So I would hope that if you're going to nickel and dime CSEA for a .80 for admin, that us too would also be seeing an increase of 73.25 to our members. Also, How many vacancies do we have in classified? Vacancies, nobody knows how many vacancies we have? Because when I hear the board members talk, that's what the purpose of this is to attract and retain principals. But I think we have probably a couple hundred vacancies in classified, and I'm not sure why we're not putting these efforts there. And when we feel like you guys start at the top, this is why. And I think if us employees knew that we were going to be treated fairly and also receive the $725, we would be cool with it. But at the end of the day, like Mr. Porter said, are you really going to offer this to your other groups? And it's just so hard for me to be quiet. And it's just not right. I understand that every group is different. And if that's what the principals need, that's what the principals need. If they need more money, let's give it to them. If classified needs more money, let's give it to them. I just don't understand. It just seems like we have a captain on every ship. Almost every school has a principal. I think we're down 1.5 VP at Lakewood or at Nichols. Yes, we did consolidate a VP at Murata and we made someone part-time. But it doesn't seem like there's a lot of vacancies there. I went down the management list on the salary schedule and I looked at all those positions that were listed and they're pretty much all filled except for the position for preschool that we added and had a principal on a special assignment who's no longer with us. So it seems like we have a lot of admin, but it really seems like we don't have a lot of teachers. We have a lot of captains running the ships, but we don't have any crewmen. And I think one of those ways is to fix our salary schedule. Give us a fair and equitable wage, and we look forward to bargaining something similar for our members. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Washer, members, I just started. Dr. Washer, members of the board, I want to refer you to Board Rule 4355, which states that compensation and related benefits for personnel. 1, the Board of Education shall manually adopt a management salary schedule. And I want to go back down to number benefits. That's basically, though, it does say, I can't remember what number it is because now I've lost it, that salary for admin, for benefits for admin are on the salary schedule. This was last amended in on 9/2/2008, but that's basically what it says. So if you take a look at the $400 and some odd in 2005 that was added to their salary schedule, and you compounded it over all of the raises we've gotten since 2005, that amount is easily somewhere around $2,000 a month. Okay. So we went from $4 and some odd a month to over $2,000. If I take a look at the number of administrators that we've got, I figure it's probably around 140 or so. This $7,320 that we're going to put in for each administrator is going to cost the district ongoing $1 million a year. $1 million a year. You keep talking about that fiscal cliff. $1 million a year. Yet we have trouble hiring bus drivers, as my colleague Sarah Pullman stated. Teachers, as my colleague Sarah Pullman stated, and I've been pounding that gavel for months as well. Cafeteria workers, custodians. So I have to agree with what Ms. Wise said. We have a lot of captains, and I'm not saying that they don't deserve to be paid well, but we can't get the crew.
We can't get the crews on the ships because we are not competitive with wages. Mr. Porter pointed out that if you look at Elk Grove, we pay very, very well compared to Elk Grove. So why are we adding, in effect, we're adding over and these guys, over the last 2 years, they got the 5.07 in 21-22. They're getting the 6.56 for 22-23. Okay? And now we're going to give them another 13% raise. Teachers aren't getting a 13% raise. We have some classifications in CSEA that are making less than minimum wage. How is this equitable? How is this fair? And how is this fiscally responsible, given that fiscal cliff that I've heard about for years and years and years? I think you really need to ask yourselves those questions before you go ahead and approve this measure. I think it's just, you talked about equity, Mr. Neely. It's not equitable. I'm not getting a 13% raise. I'd love to get a 13% raise. I'd love to tell my members they're getting a 13% raise. Thank you.
Thank you. Any student comments?
You know, please listen to this whole thing before anybody moans too loudly, all right? We've been turned down by several administrator candidates because we don't offer benefits. And we need to do something about that. But this is not what I had in mind when I talked about doing something about it. And I think we need to take a little bit better look at this. So I'm going to move that we pull this item from the agenda and bring it back at a later time.
I'll second that.
Concrete.
So we have a motion and a second. Mr. Neely made a motion to pull it, and Mr. Porter and Mr. Heverly.
Doesn't matter.
Porter Heverly combination.
Seeking
Second.
clarification.
Seeking clarification, correct. Is that Dr. Washer? Is there anything else I need to do?
Technically, if you vote to table it, it means that it goes to the next regular agenda. You can, if that's your intent, then that would be what you do. You can also make a motion and vote to have this come back at a later time, but not use the word table. Just a technicality that.
Make a motion to bring back.
That would be without a timeline restriction.
Yes. Yes. Mr. Knex, I had a question.
How time sensitive is this issue?
There's no timeline associated with it. I mean, if you're looking to do something for the hiring season, that would be in the next couple months we start that, but that doesn't mean that you have to do something at that point.
Well, there seems to be some concern here. So
Question.
we should
Additional questions? Okay, so we have a motion and a second to bring it back at a later date. At a later date.
And I'm just a clarification that in so doing, you want more detailed information brought back with that. Is that what?
Questions have already, yes, we would like questions.
It's not a table, it's a.
It's not the exact item. You want more clarification and, okay, I get it. Thank you.
Great. Moving on to OAIs.
Do you need a vote for that?
No.
We do not need a vote for that. You just don't take any action, so nothing happens, and we will bring it back at a later time per your direction. If you want to take a vote to do that, you certainly can.
I don't think we need to. Moving on, OAI 7, Dr. Washer.
This is a companion to that, so you might want to do the same, give the same type of direction. It's up to you.
Give that direction, please.
I'll second that.
Okay. So we will take a no vote on OAI 7 and 6. And you will bring both of those back?
We will bring both back for your direction, yes.
Thank you. Personnel matters, Mr. McKilligan.
Personnel matters are presented for your consideration.
Thank you, Mr. McKilligan. Any board comments? Any public comments?
I just wanted to make a note that we have one teacher who's already declaring that she is going to be retiring this year. Retirement season is opening, and as we lost a lot of teachers to retirement and just plain leaving last year, I'm hoping that the board and the cabinet is seriously looking at starting recruitment early to start replacing the teachers that we are going to leave. We're already severely understaffed, and we need to start recruiting now. Thank you.
Thank you. We have board and public comment. I need a motion and a second. Thank you, Mr. Neely for the motion and Mr. Porter for the second. Board vote on this. Board approved 7-0. Mr. Khan.
Thank you, President McFarland, members of the board, Dr. Washer, and Mr. Young. This is an item that also ties back to the July 12th compensation report. This is a table that came that is based on the information on page 11 of that support. I'd like to thank Dr. Washer and Mr. Young. We've discussed this matter at cabinet several times. This is my request to bring it. We've mathematically calculated our competitiveness on a number of positions. These identified in the July 12 study as some of the more substantively lower compensation packages in the county of San Joaquin. I'll refer to them as the four positions: the bus drivers, the custodians, the food service, cafeteria ones, and paraeducators. We've heard comment today on bus drivers. We've heard comment today at Open Mic about the number of open positions, and it's substantial. This report, this July 12th report, is now 4 months old, and we still have not addressed this. And I'm here to inform the board that, at least in my opinion, we are nearing the brink of seismic failure. Every single day, we get a report, cabinet gets a report from transportation, the number of routes that will either not be served or that are going to be running late. We are running 38 bus routes with 31 drivers. The bus attendants that we do have are driving vans to service special ed students. We have at times over 30 custodial openings. Not all of these are full-time positions. They're not full FTEs. We currently are running at 31 open positions in food service as well. If we were to call during the transportation times, the office, the transportation office, we would not be able to reach a director, and occasionally would not be able to even reach a supervisor because they are out driving. This is not going to improve unless we do something about it. I'm not saying that this concept solves a problem, but the market for these positions has changed, and drastically, and it changed over last summer. Lincoln Unified sort of led the charge in San Joaquin and raised bus driver compensation rates by $4 an hour. So what the ask is at this point is, and I won't even call it that, this is a plea for the board to direct the district team to take this concept to the table and address it with the unit in the hopes of maybe coming to terms for these 4 positions such that we can offer a more competitive footing in the marketplace. I'd be happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Khan. Comments from the board?
Move it forward.
Go for it.
All right. When you do things like this, and you say that Lincoln is ahead of the game and so forth and so on, gets back to I talked about passion earlier with Mr. Neely, that are we being proactive or reactive? And what we're being is reactive. We don't anticipate these situations, and by bringing these out, yes, these people need the money, but you're creating division within these units. Now, I believe that we have bus driver trainers. I might be wrong. I think I looked it up today, and they will be making less than the bus drivers. How is that fair? I understand that we have a greater need, but I also am curious why we didn't come out of the gate earlier and looking at this. I also looked at substitutes. Elk Grove, for example, gives $350 to retired teachers to sub. Their substitutes regular are $150. So where are we in terms of being reactive, proactive? Yes, bring this forward, but what are we doing for, I'd like to hear from CSEA, I'd like to hear from how they feel about this, where we've isolated certain groups and identified them as in need, and not looking at the whole picture in terms of how it's going to affect their union.
Yeah, I think, but in actuality, Ms. Porter, haven't we looked at the whole thing and we came up with this? It's being substantially behind. Isn't that, Ms. Scott, isn't that what we did?
I believe that's what the July 12th report is.
Yeah. Okay.
So, based on that, you're saying that these are just the areas that are in need?
I'm saying these are the most obvious at the time. If the board recalls, I'm paraphrasing because I don't remember the exact language, but the statement from the board on July 12th was that this was an initial start. It was a good start, but more work needs to be done. The Director of Budgets is currently pressing forward with additional tweaks and improvements to the study. I believe the superintendent received a letter from the superintendent of Elk Grove Unified stating that we would now be included in their salary compensation study. My opinion, but we had directed school services to include Elk Grove and the Sacramento school districts in our salary compensation study because of requests at the open mic from the bargaining units. And I think that's where this request came of our superintendent, or this, not request, but this, this notice that Lodi Unified would now be compared against Elk Grove. So the continuing improvement of that compensation study is ongoing. And we will do this every year. But in our initial work, these are the positions that show the greatest differential between county total compensation rates and ours. Further, these are also the positions that we are having the most difficulty hiring right now. That's why it was brought forward like this. Again, we are at the brink. And I wake up in terror sometimes that there's something's going on with the bus and there's no director in the office to handle the situation because she's out driving. We are at that state. So again, this is less of a report than a plea. I'm urging anybody to listen that we need to address these positions right now. I'm not as conversant on the pairs, but I know there's a drastic need for those positions in the classroom as well. But for the 3 business positions here, I hear about it daily.
Thank you, Mr. Khan.
Well, in any case, it's a good start. It's somewhere to start, and we've got this right here, right now. And we can move this into negotiations and make something happen. I've seen some head shake out, so maybe I don't understand.
No, you don't.
We can't?
Again, caution, we do not want to have negotiations. We're
Right,
just-
we can't have negotiations here. I'm saying about sending it into negotiations. But we'll wait to hear from them, I guess. I'd like to hear from them.
I want to make sure I have all board comment. Yes, Mr. Herbert.
My impression was from that salary survey that we wanted done, that it's going to be a stair step, meaning some groups come now, a few months later, another group can come, and what is identified, you identified this as kind of an immediate need, obviously, okay? Now, there are ramifications of it in that it could be compressing or in some cases maybe surpassing a different level. And that's where it has to come in negotiations. Really all this is saying is, as I see, is that you're asking that this come forward as part of that survey to go into negotiations.
Yes, sir.
And at that point, there'll be other discussions of how it affects or how it could be implemented better and so on and so forth. Am I out of the realm of thinking that this is a stair step, that we don't plan on just doing these positions or these positions and freezing? That we're, because there were other jobs that did not fall into that 100% range. So am I misinterpreting that, or is that actually what the intent is of the study? Because I know what the intent is of the board.
Correct. Correct. You are correct.
Okay. The next thing I always say is a plan without a timeline is just a dream. So my next question is kind of how do you see this as a timeline unfolding so that we can include other positions, maybe even a different bargaining group, but still they keep coming a little at a time so that we can start addressing the overall issues, because our people need to be paid a competitive wage. Now, the survey says 100%. What that means is that's 100% of the average, or
Correct.
average. Okay. So, what kind of timeline are we talking?
Given the nature of the study and the number of districts involved, and especially as Deborah Ladwig has always said, on the classified side, where positions aren't homogeneous positions like a teacher or a high school principal, it's hard for me to see school services performing this study more than once a year. But my interpretation of board's direction to superintendent direction to cabinet is we take a look at it at every publication date, bring it back to the board, and discuss the anomalies in it. And also in this case, the pressing matter is we cannot hire these people. Right now, we don't even get applications when we apply jobs. And these are food kids eat, their transportation to school, their assistance in the classroom. And we all have heard the concerns about the cleanliness of the classrooms in the school site. And when we're running 30 openings in each of these job classes, there's nowhere to turn. We can't.
Well, I get that, and I'm not opposed to bringing this forward and entering it into negotiations, because that's when you're going to see the nuances and the perspective as to what other groups see. I hear what you're saying about the survey happening once a year. Okay, that doesn't preclude us from saying, as a district, that we have this survey in front of us. Let's pick a few and take those to negotiations. pick another set, and it might be 2 different groups that go into negotiations. We don't have to wait for an annual posting. We can move forward faster if we care to.
As
And
long-
one of the things that I noticed was the first time I went into negotiations and sat in the room at negotiations with CSEA, it kind of struck me the variety of jobs that are within CSEA. And I am very well aware that not all titles of a position are the same from district to district. I ran that in my previous employment when we were doing salary surveys. I'm very familiar with them. So anyway, I get it that it's refreshed every year, but even though it's refreshed every year, there's nothing to preclude us from attacking these ones, then going to the next ones, and going to the next one within that year. Just a point I would like to make.
The mathematical calculations are very simple. I think that's the value of the study. So where the calculation exists, you can discuss those positions right now.
Sure.
There are, as you noted, Mr. Heverly, complications with job titles, and then sometimes you have the titles that are same, but the job descriptions are different. The number of days worked vary from district to district. So those, I think, would require the actual study and analysis prior to taking those to the table. But I would represent everything in your July 12th study is an accurate calculation of the standing in this county alone. But, then recall that several of the units stepped up to the mic and said, we want to see us against Elk Grove and Sac City, and we've asked school services to do that as well.
Okay. Well, like I said, I see this as a positive first step to at least start the conversation with our bargaining groups. So I say bring it back, move forward.
Thank you, Mr. Heverly. Any other comments? I'd like to make a quick one. The board asked for the salary study because we knew we had to take action. Attract and retain. We hear it every Tuesday at the mic. This is a start to attract and retain. It's not the answer. It needs to be negotiated behind closed doors with each group. This is a starting point to start the conversation. This doesn't mean that we don't value all of our employees in each bargaining group. First, I want to say thank you to those who did the salary study. Secondly, thank you CSEA workers. We talk a lot about how many positions were down. Let's talk about the employees that are in there killing it every day when they're understaffed and they're coming back day after day, and how many months has this happened? We as a board, we might not like everything that we see, but we have to do something. I don't believe we are reacting. I think it is at the point that we are finally taking a stance and saying this is not acceptable. And I think that our student safety is number one, and our employee safety is number one. We've got an overtired custodian, bus driver, cafeteria, I don't care what it is. There's a level of danger and safety that comes into play. And so, if nothing less, we need to protect our employees and our students. And the one way to do that is to get them help, and we can't get them help without paying them a fair wage. So I'm in favor of this. I don't know what it's going to look like when it comes back to us, but thank you, Mr. Khan, for taking the salary study that I asked for and moving it in a positive direction. We've got a lot of work to do. There's no question. There's no question that when you say custodian, there's levels of custodians. When you say bus driver, there's trainer. There's lots of positions. We're not naive to that. We see all the postings. That is to be worked out behind closed door with CSEA, and that's for you to slug it out with our people and your people, and do what's right for our district and our employees and our students. So thank you, Mr. Khan, Dr. Washer, Mr. Young, for moving on this. And I think this is a step. It's not a run. This is the first step. We have lots of steps to make in lots of different units, bargaining units. These are the ones that have been identified as the biggest need. And so I'd like to see us move forward. I'm in favor of seeing what you can come up with this. Mr. Porter.
Yeah, I just want to clarify my comments. The study came out July 12th. It's now November 15th. So when I talk about proactive, July 12th, and now it's November, that's reactive. So please be aware of that. Thank you.
Any other comments from our board?
Let's get the plea going, please.
Any other public comments?
Good evening, Dr. Washer, Mr. Young, members of the board. So much context here, so much to think about, so much to respond to. Where do I even start, honestly? As far as Lincoln receiving $4 an hour, what did they do for the rest of their group?
My understanding is that they just took the bus drivers to their unit.
That was it?
I wasn't there, I don't, but I was told by a member of their administration that they couldn't hire bus drivers, they took the raise to the unit for bus drivers only, and it was approved.
Okay.
I'm sure you can check that.
Yeah, I haven't done that. I was just wondering what they did for for the rest of the group, and maybe what their ending fund balance was in their district. The other thing is, there's 10 ways to skin a cat, and CSE, I can say this confidently, our team doesn't feel this is the best way to skin the cat. Just arbitrarily changing numbers in our salary schedule to make them what we want them to be and fit our narrative, I don't think is the best way to keep integrity of our salary schedule. And it also kind of diminishes what other people do. I understand Mr. McFarland saying we don't, everyone's valued. I hate to say this, but we're valued with our pay. And one of the main ways, and if you look at our current salary schedule, I have a copy and I'd actually like to share a copy with you. Is that okay?
Yes.
So if you look at our current salary schedule, and you go down the list of numbers, a classification doesn't make $25 an hour until they're a step 49. And bus drivers are currently a step 38. So that's a large difference. I understand the need. That's a big jump. I mean, someone that's making $25 an hour is somebody who works in our budget department with Mr. Kahn and assists the schools, the school sites in developing their budgets. There's so much context here. There's so many things to be thought about. And CSEA feels that the offer that we presented to you is a fair and equitable offer. We're currently asking for 13.26. What else? Hold on. Understanding Mr. Kahn saying that we're going to continue to do these salary studies. I mean, he did say the salary study wouldn't be done every year by school services, but they can continue to go back and look at it. There's no guarantee for us for that. There really isn't, though. We talk about the ADA cliff that's looming, and I think CSEA would not be in our best interest to move forward with something like this. There's multiple people who make a step, or in a step 38. It's not just school bus drivers. And I just don't think it's the best, we don't think it's the best way to do it. In a perfect world, we would like to see minimum wage in the very first cell of that salary schedule. If you look at it, step 21 makes $13.36. That's what's represented on here. But by law, they have to make minimum wage. So they move them over on the salary schedule so that they make minimum wage. And then those individuals do not receive a pay raise. We move over from column A to column B yearly, every July. So those individuals do not move over, they wait there. And we feel that our offer would it would be a better step in the right direction. And it would fix a lot of our classifications and not just these. And the frustrating part for us is that minimum wage has been an issue long before COVID. And so, yeah, we'll talk about it more at the table, but we'll see.
Thank you. Absolutely.
Hello, my name is Tara, and I'm a custodian, a head custodian. I've been with the district for 16 years. And on the salary schedule, you guys are we're proposing to give custodians a raise. Well, what about head custodians? We'll be making as much as a night custodian, which would make us pretty much invalid as head custodians or lead custodians, cafeteria, the leads of them. So you're looking at custodians need a raise, but everybody else has to go with it. It just can't be one person. And, bus drivers, I know that they go through a lot, and I know that they have a lot of training and stuff, but you can get the kids there, but we're also, I work from 5:30 in the morning to 4 o'clock at night. I haven't had a night custodian at my site since January. And so we need to do something because my hands are done, I'm tired, I'm trying my best, and I've been here for 16 years, and I don't want to leave. I want to stay here. This is my home. I was raised here. I was a Flame. Go Flames. And I want to continue the good things that Lodi Unified has to offer. And we're still short 20 positions in custodial. We haven't been able to fill them since 2008. So we haven't even become whole yet, and you're giving raises to people in higher positions and making positions and not making all of us whole first, which, it's sad because we're putting our whole lives into it. We're working night today and we're trying to make a change in the future, Even though the teachers are for the kids, we're for the kids too. We're all a team and we all work together, and I think that we all need to be together on the same level. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
My name is Tammy. I'm a paraeducator in the preschool SBC classroom, which I don't see my classification on that salary schedule right there, and we are way more short-staffed than you could imagine. It's such a safety concern. Our students are getting hurt daily. We don't get subs when we're absent. When there's no teacher, then we have to combine the classrooms, which I don't know if you've ever seen an SBC preschool classroom. I know you haven't come to our classroom, which I invite you all to come and visit our classrooms and spend maybe a whole day in there and see what we have to deal with on a daily basis to keep these students safe, to keep ourselves safe, because we have a lot of students that bite, kick, hit, spit, they puke on you, we have to change their diapers, they go all over us. We have a lot of stuff that we have to deal with every day, and they expect us to work on evidence-based practice skills with them. How are we supposed to do that if we're just kind of crowd control, basically, is what we feel like we are. We are so overstressed. People are absent all the time. We have people left because they can deal with the situation that we're in. And we really need to be felt like we're taken care of, which we don't feel that way. We feel like we're a dumping ground. I don't think I would like a toilet, but that's the way I feel like, to be honest. So we would really love if you could just work with us and make us feel like we're wanted, make us feel like we're doing good. Because we're there, we love our students. There's nothing wrong with our students. We love working with them every day. They really are a joy. I love being with them every day, but it is stressful at the end of the day when, we are short-staffed and we can't do what we're really needed to be focused on doing. We can't work on our IEP goals because if we're short-staffed, there's no way for us to actually work on what we need to do with them. And we always get told, oh, just do what you can, which is trying to keep them safe and not getting hurt or hurting each other, which is a very difficult task at the moment. So I would love to see all of our positions, all of them, not just the ones that you like to pick and choose. They're all needed to be filled. There's so many different positions that need to be filled to have people safe. So thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
Good evening, board, Dr. Washer, Mr. Young. I'm one of your kitchen managers. And we are indeed at the breaking point. If you walk into our kitchens any day, you'll see us running around that kitchen trying to get all the food ready. My kitchen is normally 4 people. Well, right now we're at 3 because they took my second in charge to run another kitchen. One of my people went out for a month, so I have a substitute. There was a day a week or 2 ago, we ran the kitchen with 2 people. There was a day I had to run the kitchen with 2 subs and myself. One of those subs is brand new. It's not easy. We want to talk about being proactive. We have been trying to be proactive for years, bringing you proposals to try and keep up with the pace of minimum wage. Fast food has outpaced this district because they've been reacting, not thinking ahead. We have people going out daily because they are exhausted and cannot come back in. We're all at our breaking points. Being proactive means working ahead before the problem happens. We're well past that. Our proposal that we've given you before helps us put us in the right direction as a total group, not individuals. When this district's ending fund balance has been growing year after year after year, and we are told there is not enough money for this. There is. You just have to make the decision to do it. Don't be reactive, be proactive. Thank you.
There are so many things that I would like to say, but I feel like I can't say them all. But I do want to say this. I think that this is a good step, at least to open the discussion. And part of the reason why is because a lot of those people on that list, a lot of positions on that list are at my school right now. And I'm losing people on that list to higher paying jobs because those positions aren't paying enough for them to stay at a place that they love and never wanted to leave, but feel like they have to because they just can't make the bills meet anymore. The other thing is that I have 3 special day classes. So I have a number of buses that come to my school every day. One bus in particular is late every single day, anywhere from 15 to 30 minutes a day. You might think that that only affects our special ed kids. It doesn't, although that's bad enough. But it also affects the kids who overflow to my school, who are general ed kids. Every single day, that can be up to 150 minutes a week of education lost by children simply because they can't get to school on time. I understand that we are in a place where everybody needs more, absolutely. But I also think that history puts people in different parts, different places in the equity world, and there is inequity. And this is a step towards that equity. At least that's the way I see it. I don't know all the ins and outs. Truthfully, I don't really pay attention to a lot of budget, not because I don't have to, mostly because my husband does it all for me. But I do see exactly what it's doing at my school, and the fact that I have kids who are losing educational minutes simply because we don't have enough bus drivers, that's heavy on my heart. Thank you.
Thank you. Any additional board comments? Yes.
I think we need to take a look at this in a bigger perspective because, first of all, I don't quite get this whole integrity of the salary schedule. I'm not quite with you on that. I know we've done this in the past with LPPA. We've had certain positions that needed to have an adjustment on their salary. And they don't have that many different groups, not like you guys do. What we've done in the past, we've just been trying to treat you just like everybody else and just say one thing. Why not get together and do a comprehensive review internally, right here, on this salary schedule, and say, you know what, these people need to be moved up because they're way behind that, and take that to negotiations and you guys work that out. Now, I'm gonna be gone, right? I'm not gonna be here to see that, but I'd love to see that happen. Because you've got some positions that are above 100%. Well, okay, that's good. Leave them alone, they're there. But you've got others that are not. So there's nothing wrong with adjusting those schedules, either moving them on the range or whatever. You guys figured that out. The negotiators figured that out. All right? And let's get some of this stuff taken care of. And we need to get on that right away. It needs to become a priority for you guys. Like Mr. Khan said, this has just been going on too long. It's really affecting everything. So that's my suggestion to that. Maybe not a one-time huge percentage for everybody, but maybe some places get a very good raise and some places stay the same. You got to look at the entire schedule, okay? That's my comment on that.
Thank you, Mr. Neely.
You guys ready to respond?
Go ahead,
Can I respond to that?
Absolutely.
If we were to put 1550 in the very first cell of
I
that,
can't hear you. Just a second here. Okay, go ahead.
if we were to put 1550, which I think is what minimum wage is right now in that cell, in the very first cell of our salary schedule, it's about a 16% increase. So we do recognize that that would be a hefty request. That isn't our proposal currently on the table.
Right.
But we do feel that that would be a fair and equitable approach, and it would fix not just 4 or 5 classifications, but it would fix multiple classifications. And those positions that you're saying are above market value, like Deborah Ladbrig's old position in ARE, took 4 times for that job to be posted before we finally found somebody in-house. We actually had people that came and started from outside districts. One was from Elk Grove, and she left. So even those positions they're having a hard time filling. And those would be positions that are being referred to as above market value. So I don't think that there's a lot of people jumping to apply and come work in those positions here either.
But you're right. You're absolutely right. I mean, I've been with the CSBA and I've talked to these other districts, and they're having problems too. So it's not just if you raise the salary, it's going to fix all those problems, because that's not going to happen.
And as far as when we talk about the integrity of the salary schedule is, when there's a new classification that's brought into our bargaining unit, we go to the bargaining table and we look at the job requirements and the education level that are required for that. And as a negotiator, we look at other districts and what they pay for those positions and the level of education that's required. So when you say that you're arbitrarily just going to go ahead and pay a bus driver a $25 an hour and put them all the way at a step 49, our salary schedule only goes to step 65. So I'm not discrediting the service of a bus driver, but I don't want to discredit the service of another classification either.
Right. No, that makes sense.
So that's what I mean.
Yeah. But would you, you know, I got to be careful because I'm getting dangerously close to being slapped by the president for getting in
I'm
negotiations.
smiling on the
So
outside, but I'm not on the
I'm
inside.
going to back off on this,
Thank you.
but that's just my suggestion. And I can't talk about that anymore right now, but I do wish you guys luck on this. Very much so.
That's why we want to move it forward so the conversation can continue towards a resolution.
Yes.
Yeah,
In some form.
I would dare to say this is just the start of it. It will happen behind closed doors and then it will come back to us. And so we appreciate the candor and the directness. And for us, we want to see forward movement, and that's what will happen behind closed doors. So.
I just want to say, I'm shocked that we have people making less than minimum wage.
No. They don't make less than minimum wage. They have to legally be paid a minimum wage.
Okay.
So that means that they're placed.
But then they just move them over to.
They just move them over and then they sit there for 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, so near kind of advantage, all right.
Oh, well, they give them the difference, whatever.
I was just gonna say, we need to use microphones so that.
Yes, we need to come to the microphone. Okay, so we have had board comment, we've had public comment, I think we have talked enough. Mr. Khan, do you have an understanding?
Yes, ma'am, thank you.
Great. Any student comments before we move off of this? Thank you so much. We're now at the communication portion. Any employee groups, do you have more to share with us, or are you? Or we talked out?
Really? Make it count.
I'm getting better at this. There was just one thing that I did want to say when we were talking about the additional dollars on the cap that I did forget to say, is that in addition to the 13.26, CSEA was asking for a one-time stipend of $7,000. And so thank you for your support on tabling that or putting it forward to another board meeting, because the principals would have been getting that now, but ongoing. So, thank you.
Sure you're done? Okay. Hi, good evening. I guess I'm the closing act today. We've heard a lot from our bargaining units today, and I just want to reiterate, staffing. I am hearing it from the board members, I am hearing it from members of the cabinet, and we're hearing it again from the bargaining units. And I was going to bring up how this is affecting safety, and fortunately one of our special ed paraeducators started to bring that up. I've already heard from several of my preschool special ed teachers about the safety issues because they don't have enough staffing. And even if a teacher is out ill, there's not enough substitutes. I'm hearing about safety issues from my teachers about the fact that we don't have custodians that are cleaning the restrooms in kindergarten classes. And we all know, we've all had children. Mr. Heverly has several grandchildren, and I'm sorry, but little kids, they just ooze from every orifice.
That's true. That's very true.
They just do. I have 2 new grandnephews, and let me tell you, it's like I love them to death, but whenever it's like, I just remember my son being little, and you go through 3 changes of clothes, right? Yeah, right, when they're infants and toddlers every day. So, thank goodness for washing machines, that's all I can say. But, we have to keep those restrooms clean for these kids, because right now we know RSV is going around. I know I've talked to several kindergarten teachers where they've had up to a third of their classes out with some virus. Could be RSV, could be something else, right? We've got cafeterias. I'm hearing about cafeterias not being cleaned because we don't have the custodial staff. So all of this kind of trickles down, and I did hear Mr. Khan say we are at the breaking point. I agree, we're at the breaking point. So we've got to look at doing something different. And I understand that CSEA has these classifications, but maybe we need to learn, we all need to get some flexibility here. I know at one point there were stipends way back when where we were giving hiring bonuses to math teachers. I don't know. I'm not crazy about singling out one particular group as I represent all the teachers, but sometimes I think we need to think outside of the box, be a little bit more flexible. The other thing I wanted to talk about is the mental health. And we've talked a lot about mental health with students, and I get it. We need students to who've not been socialized because of COVID, and they're coming through and we're having behavioral issues, things like that. But there was a really interesting article in EdSource this week about how this is about teachers, and that teacher stress during the pandemic and continually since the pandemic is actually been measured to be higher than that of healthcare workers. And they're also finding, they've done some studies where they found that this anxiety in teachers does affect the classroom. So now we've got teacher shortages where we've got teachers who are working 120s, 130s, 140s. That creates a lot of anxiety and a lot of stress. And that can cause behavior issues in students. It can cause them to not put up those barriers that prevent them from learning, from fully learning in the classroom because they get the vibe from the teacher that the teacher is stressed. So we need to think of something new. We're down at least 60 teachers from last year. That's why we have all these 120s. My former classroom, I know I've had a long-term sub in there all year. I've been trying to help him out because, hey, why not? That's just the kind of person I am. I'm not going to let them sink or swim. I'd rather have them at least dog paddle with their head above water. But we've got to do something different. We've got to do something different. And I don't believe that giving the captains, rewarding the captains by giving them more benefits is going to encourage the crew. Thank you.
Any comments from board members? Mr. Freitas?
Once again, I'd like to thank my colleagues, Mr. Neely, Mr. Everly. You realize you won't be clicking these votes anymore, so you took your last vote tonight. Also, Friday was Veterans Day. So I know Mr. Neely and Mr. Knackstead are serving in the armed forces. Do we have other veterans here today? So anyway, I'd like to congratulate and commend all of our veterans in the Lodi Unified family.
Thank you, Mr. Freitas. Yes.
Ms. Renholt, are you still here? Oh, there you are.
Yes,
Okay.
I'm sorry. I'm working.
Well, I've got the podium and I can't see. I just wanted to know that I singled you out when I was reporting on the ribbon cutting ceremony and what a wonderful job you did. And very impressed, and thank you for your work at that school. It's a beautiful place and you have a lot of great employees and students.
Thank you very much.
Oh, you're welcome. You deserve it. The last thing I wanted to mention is I was very pleased to hear that we have multiple elementary sites that celebrated a Veterans Day activity, and I did attend one of them. The other one that I knew about, I couldn't. And there was actually another one that I didn't even know happened. But it was wonderful to see the kids sang the vets a song, and there were, oh gosh, probably 25 veterans that were there at the one that I was at. And get this, there was a World War II veteran that was there. And yes, and he kind of relayed a couple of stories. No, this guy was younger than George. He was in his mid-90s. And it was great to see that, that the kids could get together, and watching the music teachers instruct the kids, sing them a song. It was just heartwarming. So I want to give my thanks to those schools who did celebrate Veterans Day. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Heverly. Haley.
You know, it's Native American Heritage Month, so I do want to point out that there is a veteran, Native American. He fought in 3 wars. He fought in World War II, he fought in Korea, and he fought in Vietnam. He was injured in all 3 wars, got 3 Purple Hearts. He had retired and came back in the Vietnam War and volunteered for Vietnam to keep his son from having to go there because he was going to be drafted. His final wound, he got him, and he was killed in action in Vietnam. He's the most decorated American soldier of all times at that point. He used to be Audie Murphy, and then before that, Sergeant York. Sergeant York, yeah. Alvin York was his name. But this gentleman, and I don't have the information with me right now, but that was quite a deal. That's Native American Heritage Month. Also, I attended out of Orchard, a Veterans Day event, and they put on a great event. They had the color guard out there from the American vets. They had everything, and it was fantastic. And what a group that's out there. Those The staff of that school is just incredible. It's like old home week when I went back there and saw so many people that I knew. And by the way, Nancy Johnson's doing a spectacular job out there as well. So is Jamie, of course. But so they're doing great. Look, I want to talk about something. This is my last comment.
I don't
For
believe it.
here. So this is one of the things that I want to talk about, and that is, I'm kind of, I've always been wondering about this whole thing about people getting up to that mic and saying there's a lack of respect. I don't quite get that. This board, through the superintendent, we brought the administrative program for our teachers here to this district office in hopes of getting more of them involved in that. I went to that. Ms. Rinholt went to that as well. The 25-year step that was added to the pay scale for teachers, that came from the board. The board's the one that suggested that. The increased starting pay, the first couple of years, we moved those up to a third. That came from the board. The teacher career path that would allow teachers to become master teachers, model teachers, that came from this board. We didn't do this out of lack of respect. We did it out of respect. The RBET, the Review Board for Excellence in Teaching, came from this board. The individual professional development, where teachers could move up on the salary schedule without having to pay the cost of college tuition by attending classes that were put on by this district. That came from this board. Pay raises of 100% of the COLA came from this board, and the extra 0.08% came from this board. We set up programs that allowed the teachers, instead of going to the old way where everyone's complaining about the professional development at the beginning of the year, put together methods where they could choose their own professional development. That came from this board. So I don't quite get what all that's been. And I got to say that I might want to rethink that tactic, because it's very divisive. And you know, if we had settled, I wonder how bad a problem you'd have with our employment of attracting people now. We've had our salary schedule until just got it approved. Was the same one that's been on there for a couple of years, and when people check it out, it looks bad. Well, we're in the process of fixing that. CSEA, I hope you guys get together with your negotiators and our negotiators, and you come up with a plan that everybody's satisfied with. I really do hope that. You guys have worked hard, and things just aren't keeping up the way they should. We need to reevaluate that whole salary schedule. And that's all I've got on that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Newman. Any comments from the superintendent?
President Farm.
Yes.
I apologize. I don't mean to steal the last word from George, but also on Friday, I was invited and was able to attend the Hmong New Year ribbon cutting ceremony at the 99 Speedway. The Hmong culture is a very diverse and celebrated culture that has many accomplishments. I was very excited to attend and recognize many of the dignitaries that were there. It was a great family event with amazing food, and I encourage anyone having the chance to attend events in the future. And I'd like to thank Tokay High Tiger alum Lee Her, who set me up for the event. So, and it was also put on by one of our co-sponsor organizations, Lao Family Community Empowerment, who many of our students are very familiar with. So many of our students were in attendance, including the Hmong group from McNair, Hmong students. So great event, great time. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Freitas. Dr. Washer, do I adjourn when we go back to, do I wait to adjourn when we come back from closed session?
Adjourn to closed session.
I'm going to adjourn to closed session. Before I do you have any?
No further comments.
No further comments? Any advisory reports? All right, we are going to adjourn to closed session at 9:49. Okay, I'm reporting out from closed session. The board considered non-compensation language terms to the superintendent's contract and made the following changes. Language was added to section 3.1, general duties. Superintendent shall serve as a mentor advisor to the associate superintendent during the transition period preceding her retirement. Superintendent may delegate responsibilities in section 3 to the associate superintendent as part of a transition training process. No other changes, no changes to salary. There was a motion for Mr. Nava and a second by Mr. Freitas, and the board voted 7-0 in favor of the addition to general duties counter contract. I'm now adjourning at 9:58. What did it go? 9:53? Two?
I was shocked.
Do I need to get out of it? That was your fist.
Yeah, I saw it. But they move over 5 qualifications.